My mom didn't sit me down for a talk. She didn't even glance at me like a person. She dragged my suitcase across the cracked driveway, popped it open, and started shoving my clothes into a plastic trash bin like she was tossing out leftovers from last week. Socks, hoodies, notebooks, my favorite mug, all of it dumped together, tumbling over itself like it didn't matter. I stood there in my work shoes, the smell of coffee and syrup still clinging to my uniform from the brunch shift, watching my life get piled next to the recycling. I'm Harper. I'm 24. That bedroom, the one with the pale blue walls and the faded curtains, was the only reason I could afford to stay and help run the diner. It was my anchor, my quiet corner of the world where I could breathe after long shifts, where I could study online classes, where I kept everything organized while the chaos of the diner consumed the rest of my family. But my mom didn't care. She didn't even look me in the eye. "You're an adult. You don't deserve to be here anymore. Your brother's wife needs this room. You're just in the way." I could see her eyes flick to the window behind me, the one that framed the morning sun perfectly. She was already imagining it as a studio, a backdrop, a prop. My things weren't people, and I wasn't a person in that moment. No one asked where I was supposed to sleep that night. No one asked how I would finish my online classes. No one asked who would run the social media accounts, the delivery apps, the newsletters that kept the diner from collapsing every week. My brother walked past me, grabbing another box without so much as a glance. "You're being dramatic," he said, smirking. As my laptop teetered dangerously on the edge of the bin, I flinched. He didn't care. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't throw anything back. I just picked up what was left of my things, stacked the rest neatly on the curb, and walked away without a word. 2 weeks later, before sunrise, the people who had tossed me onto that driveway were the ones standing outside my apartment door, swollen eyes, shaking voices, asking me to save them. And the first thing I did was reach for my phone. "Hi," I said, steady and calm. "I think there are some strangers causing trouble outside my apartment building. Can you send someone to check it out? If that sounds cold, just wait until you hear what happened in between." I didn't cry on that driveway, not until I was in the back of an Uber, watching the house I grew up in shrink into the rearview mirror. Did I let myself feel anything? And when I did, it was a strange mixture of rage, grief, and clarity, like watching a slow-motion crash you can't stop. Nia opened the door to her tiny downtown apartment, hair in a messy bun, oversized hoodie hanging off her frame, eyes wide when she saw me with 2 bags and a trash bag full of clothes. She didn't ask questions. She didn't even sigh. "Take my bed," she said. "I'll take the couch. We'll figure it out tomorrow." I collapsed into her bed that night, feeling every muscle in my back complain about sleeping in a position that wasn't mine. And as the first light filtered through the cheap blinds the next morning, reality hit me like a punch to the chest. My entire life had been wrapped up in that diner and that house. I knew every regular's coffee order, every holiday rush pattern, every glitch and quirk of the delivery apps. Every corner of that business had my fingerprints on it, and in one night, my family had decided I was disposable. Instead of breaking down, I opened my laptop and started making a list. Every account I had created for the diner was under my email, my passwords, my work, the website, Instagram, TikTok, email newsletters, relationships with local roasters and food bloggers. They all existed because I had built them. My mom, Brenda, always said she was too old for the internet stuff. Tyler, my brother, had no idea what an ad manager even was. Madison, my brand new sister-in-law, thought posting selfies with latte art was enough to run a business. I spent 12 straight hours cleaning up the mess. I logged into every platform, removed their access, changed recovery emails, and downloaded every analytics report, every spreadsheet, every insight I had ever collected. I didn't sabotage anything. I didn't lock them out of their own business banking or delete their pages. I just took back what was mine, the work I had done and the value they had refused to recognize. When Nia came home from her shift at Coastal Grind, she found me surrounded by open tabs, notebooks splayed across the small living room, my laptop glowing like a lighthouse. I told her everything, from the trash bin on the driveway to the words, "You do not deserve to be here." She was furious on my behalf. She wanted me to blast them online, to show the world how cruel they had been. But I shook my head. If I burned everything down, I would look bitter. I would look unstable. They would still call me ungrateful. No, I didn't want to fight on their level. I wanted them to feel what it was like when the person they treated like a maid, a backup plan, a disposable cog simply disappeared. I wanted them to understand that the scaffolding they leaned on for years could be pulled away, quietly, deliberately, without drama, and still survive. And for the first time, I realized I could. One woman had messaged the diner's page about a wrong order. Whoever replied basically told her to calm down and stop being entitled. I didn't have to guess who wrote that. Madison treated customer complaints like personal attacks on her brand. Every DM, every Yelp review, every casual complaint about reheating eggs was met with defensiveness, sarcasm, or outright dismissal. She didn't just mismanage the business, she weaponized it, turning the people who kept our doors open into inconveniences. Meanwhile, the bills at home kept stacking up. The first big hit came when my mom went back to the bank to request another loan. The renovation for my old bedroom had gone wildly over budget. The garage spa project was bleeding money. Tyler had been out of work longer than he admitted, and my mom had been using credit cards to cover vendors when the diner's cash flow dipped. She walked into the bank with that usual confidence, convinced that a prior approval meant she'd be approved again. Instead, she came out clutching a letter. Too much existing debt. Not enough collateral. Income unstable. The interest on the loan she already had was climbing, and late fees were piling up like small but relentless hammers. Through Nia's endless network of cousins, co-workers, and baristas, I later pieced together what happened next. Mom went home and tried to cancel the garage renovation outright, not because she had suddenly become financially responsible, but because the ground finally felt like it was wobbling beneath her. Too late. Madison had already charged half the furniture and equipment on credit cards Mom co-signed, a gleaming chrome cart for skincare products, a towel warmer, fake plants, minimalist wall art, and glass jars for bath salts. She justified every purchase as for the business, but none of it ever touched paying customers. Instead, Madison filmed unboxing videos and morning routine reels in spaces still dusty from construction. Tyler, desperate to feel like the man of the house, backed her on every swipe. "It's going to pay off," he said over and over. "You have to spend money to make money." Meanwhile, the diner I had nurtured for years was hemorrhaging reputation. Without a consistent social media strategy or competent customer service, slow days remained painfully empty. Food took longer because they cut labor costs. Deliveries lagged because Madison tried to manage routes around her filming schedule, and mistakes multiplied. One morning, Mr. Jacobs, a retired teacher who had been eating pancakes at our diner long before I was born, showed up at Coastal Grind. He sat at a corner table, ordered coffee and a breakfast sandwich, then looked at me with guilt shadowing his eyes. "I tried," he said. "I really tried to stick with your mom, but that girl she hired, the one always filming herself, made me feel like an inconvenience for asking my eggs to be reheated." His voice cracked. I refilled his cup, thanked him for his honesty, and felt a pang of both sorrow and vindication. He wasn't the only one who felt it. Later, I checked the diner's social media from a burner account. Grainy photos, messy captions full of typos, defensive replies to negative reviews. The cozy neighborhood spot I had polished for years looked like a parody of itself. Inside the house, things were worse. Hushed arguments erupted into screaming matches. Neighbors who once chatted over fences now closed doors, turned up TVs, avoided eye contact. The police were called twice when Madison launched loud rants about money, loyalty, and how no one appreciated her sacrifices. And yet, even then, my mom tried one last time to use me. She couldn't reach me directly, so she cornered Nia outside Coastal Grind one night. Posing as a casual customer, she asked how I was. When Nia said I was fine, Mom immediately shifted to business. "The diner's struggling. Madison is still learning social media," she said. "If Harper just comes back to help for a while, we can get through this. She can stay in the guest room until things settle." Nia's version of the conversation made my stomach twist. The assumption was casual, but brutal. They weren't asking if I was okay, they were asking me to come running back, to pick up the unpaid labor I had already exhausted myself on, as if nothing had happened. Nia said no. She told Mom I was building something new, that I had respect and autonomy, that I wasn't coming back. Mom's face went hard. She accused me of being dramatic, claimed family forgives and moves on, insisted I shouldn't hold a grudge over one bad day. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt a clear, heavy truth settle in my chest. My mom did not miss me. She missed what I had done for her. She didn't want her daughter back. She wanted her free social media manager. Meanwhile, at Coastal Grind, the opposite was happening. App numbers climbed. Events sold out. I convinced Blake to rehire the old delivery driver Mom had let go. He knew the neighborhood, the people, and, most importantly, he was treated like a human, not a disposable cog. We added more routes, including one that looped past Mom's diner. Slowly, customers started ordering from us instead. Hot, on-time deliveries, personal notes in the bags, real attention to detail. When the landlord finally sent an official notice about late rent and potential eviction, it rippled quietly through the neighborhood. Commercial landlords in this area tolerated a lot, but not repeated late payments. Mom tried to stall, promising the money would come, but the ledger didn't care about promises. By the time the notice hit, the lease with Coastal Grind was already being drafted. Blake asked my advice on the best location for expansion, and I didn't hesitate. I outlined the corner where Mom's diner sat, the foot traffic, demographics, potential, without ever mentioning my last name. By the time the eviction notice arrived, Coastal Grind was moving in. Mom's diner, the house I grew up in, Tyler and Madison's ill-fated projects, all of it was unraveling. Tyler picked up side jobs. Madison tried pivoting to raw, honest struggle content. But her small audience wasn't interested in watching complaints from a cramped motel room. 2 weeks later, before dawn, they showed up at my apartment, pounding, shouting, frantic. Mom, Tyler, Madison, suitcases and trash bags at their feet. I checked the peephole. My heart twisted, but I did not open the door. Mom begged. Tyler pleaded. Madison stayed quiet but teared up. They were my blood. And yet they had only come when they had nothing else left. I remembered the trash bin, my suitcase on the driveway, the words, "You don't deserve to be here." I dialed the police, calm, flat, bitter but truthful. Strangers causing a disturbance. Help, please. When they realized the sirens were approaching, my mom's voice cracked. I'm still your mother. I did not flinch. I just met her eyes one last time. You told me I didn't deserve a place in your home. I said quietly, now you know what it feels like to be on the other side of that door. I closed it, slid the chain across, and leaned against it, heart pounding. For the first time, I had chosen myself over the people who had always assumed I would choose them, no matter how cruel they were. And for the first time, that choice felt like gravity. I was finally standing on my own.